And now, the star of the show, Jordan Rogozinski.
Hello, folks. Welcome back to the Jordan 411 Sports Show. And today we have a very special guest, one that I wanted to actually have on, who's been a big supporter of me. And he's almost in his 5th decade of broadcasting. He's in his 43 years of broadcasting, and that's coming up soon. Please give a warm welcome to CJOB Sports Director Kelly Moore. Wow, it finally happened, eh?
we have been working on this for quite a while because you're a busy man, and I wind up with a few things on my plate as well. But I'm glad to be here, Jordan. It is an honor for sure.
So, well, I guess we'll start how your path, how you got to this present day.
Well, that was so long ago, I forget. No,
You forget.
I was, from the time I can remember, Jordan, I always wanted to work in radio, and I always wanted to be a hockey play-by-play guy. When I was just a little bit younger than you are.
What made you wanna, who made you wanna be a play-by-play guy?
The fellow's name was Jim Robson. He was the longtime play-by-play voice of the Vancouver Canucks. When they came into the National Hockey League in 1970, I listened to every game, and he was my hero. I wasn't a very good athlete, so there was no way I was going to be a hockey player or baseball player or football player. So I wanted to be a hockey play-by-play broadcaster. And I can remember we lived on a cul-de-sac. And we would have these road hockey games. I had a kid brother and a kid sister, and they became back then, Mike Pratt, Tracy Pratt and Mike Robitaille were the Canucks defensemen, so they became Pratt and Robitaille. I was Gary Suitcase Smith in goal, and I just did play-by-play through the whole game. And we were always playing those big, bad Philadelphia
So you
Flyers.
do like what Scotiabank does with the Maple Leaf now. You used to do that.
Absolutely, you bet. And we celebrated the same way they do on those commercials, too.
What made Jim Robson a good broadcaster to listen to when you were a kid? Like his voice.
His voice was one thing. But he was everything that I thought a broadcaster should be, and that is you should be fair and objective. Everybody knew you were the voice of the Vancouver Canucks, but they did not know through your play-by-play which team that you were hoping would win the hockey game. You kept it fair, you prepared, you had lots of notes, lots of background information on the players, and when you were listening, you could see that game happening because of how well he described it. And that's what got me going on it.
How do you prepare for play-by-play? Is it difficult?
Well, it isn't. It's time-consuming. Yeah. But if you do something you love, it's not difficult at all. So.
But how long does it take?
Well, when I first started, probably 3 to 4 hours a game. Oh. And then as my career progressed, it probably stretched into 8 to 10 hours a game.
I got you beat. I can do my show in under a day.
Well, you can beat me at just about anything, so it doesn't matter.
How was that country radio station in Kamloops?
That's actually, I left doing play-by-play for that country radio station. Because in our business, Jordan, you very rarely, if ever, get a chance to start a radio station right from the ground up. Yeah. And so it was a chance to go back. I still love doing play-by-play. I still love being at the rink every day. I miss that dearly. But I don't miss the travel. I didn't, I was starting to get a little tired of having to wait around a dressing room for 45 minutes or an hour because, that was what fit the player of the coach's schedule. Yeah. But it was the opportunity, though, to start a brand new radio station and see it through. And it turned out to be pretty successful. It's still going very strong, 13 years later. So pretty proud of that. Yeah.
Did somebody contact you like, hey, come over, we're starting the country radio station, or how did that all work?
Well, the people who I had worked for in Kamloops before I came to Winnipeg the first time, when they first started talking about launching this radio station, we had some conversations. They just wanted to know if I was interested or not. And it took me the better part of a year to decide that that would be the best way to go. So they were people I knew and people I trusted. Otherwise, I wouldn't have left CJOB in the first place to go there. What
was your main factor going there? Like it said, you say it took you a year.
Yeah, well, part of it was... we have two daughters, and at that time, they had both graduated from high school, so the timing was right. But there were also some personal things that were happening in the background. My wife's mother and my father were both starting to develop health issues, and so we wanted to be a little bit closer to home to help out. So from a professional aspect, there was that consideration, and then there was also the what was happening with families. And as it turned out, my dad passed away just a little over a year later, and my wife's mom passed away a year after that. Yeah. So I'm glad we were able to be there for our families. Yeah.
Speaking of two daughters, is it hard to get into the bathroom with two daughters?
Jordan, that is why every house we had, we made sure we had lots of bathrooms, especially as they got older. When they were younger, it wasn't so bad, but when they were older. And the worst thing was, Jordan, I was the guy, I was the guy that was kind of funding that little operation. I'd come home after a hockey game or a road trip, and all the TVs were taken with The Bachelor and The Young and the Restless. And I said, can I have one TV to watch a hockey game? Yeah.
Was it difficult with having younger kids at the time being on the road?
It was extremely difficult. My wife is my absolute hero. She spent a lot of time as a single mom. You miss a lot of school functions. You miss a lot of school concerts. Missed a few birthdays along the way and that sort of thing. So thankfully, my oldest daughter has two grandkids, and I haven't missed anything for them. My youngest daughter is going to have a grandchild, and she's in BC, so it's going to be a little difficult getting there for everything. But it was not easy, Jordan. It really wasn't. But when I got home, as much as I'd spent time on the road and eating in restaurants and stuff like that, the first thing the family wanted to do, let's go out to the restaurant and have something to eat. So you just did what you needed to do. And most importantly, when I was home, I made sure every single waking hour that I had was quality time spent with them.
Did you travel like all around the U.S., United States?
Once I got to Winnipeg, well, even when I was in Kamloops, Spokane, Tri-Cities, Portland, and Seattle were all in the league. But the big trip, of course, was coming out to Brandon, and then the Saskatchewan swing through Regina, Prince Albert, Moose Jaw, Saskatoon.
How was that place? Well, see, that's a boring place.
And your sports show colors are green. What's up with that?
But my Mac is green, so okay. That's my kid.
Okay, so you're not Ryder green. You're
I'm not Ryder
You're Buckeye green.
No.
Okay, good. No. I'm just glad that we clarified that. You know what, Saskatchewan? The one thing, Jordan, I will say, we have a tremendous rivalry between Manitoba and Saskatchewan. There's no doubt about that. But when the chips are down, those two provinces will band together, too, to help one another out. And as much as people might not like to hear it, there are a lot of similarities between the two provinces from someone who's spent some time in both.
Was it like, what did you do there? There's not much to do there.
Well, the thing is, when you're traveling, and this is the thing that I think, and I wouldn't have traded what I did for 22 years for anything, but when you're covering a hockey team, in junior, there was a ton of time spent on the bus because our closest road trip was 6 hours to Seattle.
Holy.
That was our closest road trip. There was one weekend where I can remember the team played at home. We got on a bus, traveled 9 hours to Spokane, got there at about I guess it was 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. Basically spent the day kind of catching up, and I would do notes and that sort of thing. Play Saturday night in Spokane, take a bus across the Hood River over to Portland, which was 7 hours away. So you get there at 4 or 5 in the morning. They play that night, get on a bus, and it's an 11.5-hour road trip back to Kamloops, and all of the school kids were expected to be in school that morning. Ooh. I would go straight into the radio station and do the morning sports because my wife had our house barricaded, and there was no hope that I was ever going to get in there. So I thought, I might as well just go and do the morning sports and then come home when they're awake.
You said barricaded.
It was barricaded.
What do you mean by that?
I mean that she had chains, planes, and automobiles across that door. You could not have been able to get into that house for love nor money. You couldn't have even sweet-talked your way into there.
What? Why? Did she not like you or something?
No. I was away. I was away. She was home alone with the kids and our dog, but she didn't want anybody breaking into that house. Yeah.
And you have a dog?
We had a dog, yeah.
What kind of dog did you have?
It was a Border Collie cross. Her name was Morgan. We had her for 19 years. She was the absolute best dog you could ever want. And when we would play, and even when I was grown up, we still played road hockey on the street. And Morgan was always picked first because she was the best at blocking shots. And when the ball went wide of the net, she'd run down the road and get
it. Did you ever take her for walks?
All the time.
Pick up number 2 before? How was that?
Well, you have your empty bread. We saved all of our empty bread bags. Or every once in a while, we'd splurge and we'd get, those doggy-doo bags from the pet store. And it's just simple. You bend down, you scoop it up, you tie it in a knot, wait for the first garbage can. And if you were lucky, it was garbage day and somebody got a little bit of a gift that they weren't prepared for.
How was it coming back to CJOB after you left from Kamloops?
It was different because when I was here, we were the voice of the Jets and the Moose, as well as the Blue Bombers. And then we did not have the play-by-play rights to the Jets, but that first year, we covered them as if we did. We were lucky enough to hire a guy by the name of Dan Cabal, who'd been the play-by-play voice of the Atlanta Thrashers, and he covered the team when it was on the road in the States. I went and covered the team when it was on the road in Canada. We did pregame and postgame. We also did a noon-hour special show, so we covered them wall to wall, and then our management decided after that first year that because we didn't have the play-by-play rights, we weren't going to put quite as much into it. Yeah. So that changed. So now it's a lot different than what it was.
Now it's all Bombers that you have the rights.
Right. Yeah. And so we really, really go hard to make sure that they're front and center in a lot of the things we do.
And speaking of the Bombers, you have worked with the legend, Bob Irving. Sorry, Bob, I know you hate that word. And while I was at CJOB, you tell me he liked Shania Twain.
Oh, that Shania Twain picture is still there.
Still there?
Even though he is not working full-time at the station anymore, Shania is still there.
What was his thing about her? Like, what did he like?
And Bob and Day have been married for a long, long time, but Shania's not that difficult to look at, and she certainly can sing up a storm. So, I think he liked her music, but I don't think he minded her either.
How was it working beside a guy like that? What did he teach you?
Oh, an absolute privilege. He taught me, how to think like a Winnipegger, first and foremost, because that was important coming from BC. But he also, all you have to do if you are willing to invest in it is, he taught me how to handle things in a gentlemanly, in a graceful way. There isn't anybody that I can think of that has a bad word to say about Bob Irving, and mainly because Bob Irving doesn't have a bad word to say about anybody. If he's thinking it, he's not going to say it, and he is just so good at what he does. Bob knows the best words to say to describe a moment or describe a sports story. And, he's been doing it for so long. He's so respected. And just even when things are going bad, he's not afraid to say they're going bad, but he does it within the means of, within the guidelines, but also with not going too over the top. So, there's an important lesson to be learned there. Like with what's happening with the Jets right now, it'd be easy to fly off the handle and say, they're done, they're this, they're that, but just describe what is going on.
What do you mean by he made you think like you're a Winnipegger?
Well, because Winnipeg is special. It is a special city. I know there's a lot of times, and it's funny how Winnipeggers will do this to themselves. I can remember the very first time when we went grocery shopping. It was at the Costco on St. James.
Oh, Costco, that's a whole nother.
And so one of the clerks that was working there said, "Why did you ever come here from BC?" And I thought, why would you say that? So I just said, I was working, that type of thing. But then when we moved back, part of it was to come back to work for CJOB. Part of it was because our daughter had a baby by then. But another part of it was because we missed Winnipeg. Our best friends were here. We loved the city while we lived here. And yes, it has its challenges. We have lots of snow. It seems like it stays cold forever. And then when it does finally warm up, you got to smack mosquitoes. But the spirit of this city is like no other.
Yeah. You bring up Costco. Do you go there often? There often?
Man, there's nothing that flies over your head, is there? Yeah, we go there quite a bit. We're Costco members, so I'm one of those kind of people. I like to shop with the people that advertise with us, but there are some things you can get at Costco that you can't get anywhere else. So for those things, we go there.
How much is your bill, if you don't mind me asking?
No, I don't mind you asking at all. I would say probably if I shop, it's probably around $100. If it's my wife that's shopping, I'm going to plead the fifth on that.
Plead the fifth.
Yeah,
okay.
It means I don't want to get into trouble.
Do you buy your toilet paper from them?
Absolutely, man. Because my wife does daycare, so she's got 5 or 6 little kids, depending on what day of the week it is, and you can imagine the amount of toilet paper you shoot through there.
Oh yeah. How's that for you with all the kids in the house?
Well,
do you see the kids or not really?
I know I catch them, because most of them go to school. Yeah. So by the time I get home, it's usually about 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So they're just starting to get picked up. Okay. But I'm the fun person. My wife is the boss. She runs the daycare, so she can't be the fun and games guy. So I get to be that.
Okay. That's it, Kelly. We gotta go, but it was really fun talking to you.
Don't you want to know where I buy my toothpaste from?
Sure. Costco?
Superstore.
This was really fun, and thank you.
Thank you, Jordan. It's a pleasure to be on your show.
Yeah.
Please like and subscribe to Jordan's YouTube channel and follow him on Twitter.